Okay, example 4 says a square. Okay, square. That's about as good as I can get. Square has an area of 300 square meters. Alright, there we go. Now the thing I know about a square is that all the sides are equal. It's a special kind of rectangle, a rectangle where all the sides are equal. Find the length of a side of a square as a radical expression in simplest form. Okay, well, I know that x times x is going to be equal to 300 because the area, not the perimeter, be careful, don't confuse this with if it was the perimeter. If 300 meters was the perimeter, I just divide by 4. But this is an area. Okay? So, since it's the area, I know it's base times height equals the area, or length times width. So x times x equals 300, which means x squared equals 300. Now, the question that I'm asking myself is, what number times itself equals 300? Well, guys, that means that x is equal to the square root of 300. Because what does a radical ask us? A radical says, what number times itself equals 300? And that's what we want to know. So I need to simplify this 300. This square root 300, I'm sorry. So square root 300, right? I'm going to take 300, write it out to the side. You know what? I'm going to move it over just a bit, give myself a little more room. And I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it into 3 times 100. Okay, now some of you may be saying, wait a minute, Mr. Cortez, 100 is a perfect square. It's 10. That's right. This answer is going to be 10 root 3. But let's keep going for those of you who didn't see this. So that's just 10 times 10, and that's going to be 2 times 5 times 2 times 5. So they're all my primes. And when I write them, I like to write them in pairs, or with numbers that are like each other. So root 5 times root 5 times root 2 times root 2 times root 3. I've got a pair here, that's 5. Got a pair here, that's 2, and root 3. So when I multiply that all together, I get 10 root 3. Now, again, some of you may have noticed, hey, 100 is the perfect square. So this is just the square root of 3 times the square root of 100, and the square root of 100 is 10. So I'm going to be left with 10 times the square root of 3. That's true. But you don't have to see that. You don't have to find that immediately. You can always use prime factorization to break it down and just use the rule of the pairs, right? Whenever I have a pair, it's just the number that's inside the radical. Okay, so the answer to this is x equals 10 root 3 meters. Now you guys will remember from the first section I said that any number, any square, if we take the square root of a whole number and it's not a whole number, then that number is irrational. And that means we can't write it as a fraction. Its decimal goes on forever and ever. Okay? So in this case, it's going to be 10 times the square root of 3, which is approximately 1.732 blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to get, if I were to multiply those out into a decimal, I'd get an irrational number. But I could round it to get an approximation. It's somewhere around 17.32. Okay? All right. Folks, I think you did a good job here, and I think you're ready to move on to that homework. And good luck. And I'll see you at section 4 later on.